Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be taking a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers injury report for their Week 2 matchup versus the Detroit Lions. There's a good number of players on this list, the biggest name being Antoine Winfield Jr., who we talked about in an entirely separate video. He's got a foot strain that is going to knock him out for a couple of weeks, if not a little bit longer, to say a few weeks. So obviously we'll be talking about that as the weeks progress, but I made an entirely separate video talking about that initial injury diagnosis, so we are not going to cover it in full here. But starting off at the top of the list, you do have KJ Britt, who was a limited participant on Wednesday. We don't have the full injury report on Thursday, but I was paying a bit of attention to social media, and it seems like KJ Britt is going to be good to go here for this upcoming game, and I'm going to be curious to see how the inside linebacker snaps are divvied up, because again, SirVocea Dennis played a little bit more in the second half of that matchup versus the Washington Commanders. So will we see that continue, where SirVocea Dennis may even cut into KJ Britt's snaps, or will KJ Britt just continue to be the main starting number 2 linebacker here for this team? It's going to be something worth paying attention to. Heck, you even saw SirVocea Dennis playing some defensive end last week, so maybe that will continue in that mix as well. Speaking of the defensive line, you do have Will Golston, who was a limited participant in Wednesday's practice with an elbow injury. Now, per Greg Auman of Fox Sports, Will Golston did have an elbow brace on. It seems like he will be able to play through the pain in this upcoming game, but man, the Bucs just can't catch a break here on the defensive line. We will be talking about Logan Hall and Kalijah Cansey in this video yet again, and now you add Will Golston to that mix with an elbow injury. The Bucs have just been decimated on their defensive line and a little bit in their secondary as well, or I guess I should say a lot in their secondary as well, with just a lot of injuries. So it's very unfortunate. It seems like Will Golston will be needed to play through the pain, essentially, but he is still going to be limited. I imagine you may see either Mike Green or CJ Brewer called up for this game. Maybe you see some Greg Gaines in there at defensive end, as I alluded to. Maybe you even see some SirVocea Dennis in there at defensive end. So again, the defensive line is going to be yet another point of struggle here, possibly for the Bucs, as they are limited with all of their injuries going on. They will get some reinforcements, which is good, but again, we'll be talking about that a little bit later on here. Luke Goedeke was limited in Wednesday's practice with a concussion, and he was out in Thursday's practice, according to Greg Auman, again, of Fox Sports. That's a big one, right? Because Aiden Hutchinson is a thing. Marcus Davenport is a good defensive lineman that the Buccaneers did bring in as well. So I'm going to be curious to see what the heck happens here with Luke Goedeke. If he can't go, Justin School is going to be your backup, or going to be your starting right tackle, which I like Justin School. I think he's a good backup, but, for him to be starting against a pretty powerful defensive line of the Detroit Lions, we'll see what the Buccaneers can do to compensate if Luke Goedeke is out and Justin School does have to make that start. Josh Hayes was not practicing due to an ankle injury. I assume he's probably going to be out for this game if I did have to give a guess. Again, the Buccaneers are dealing with a lot of injuries in their secondary. Josh Hayes, outside cornerback, is out. Of course, Bryce Hall was placed on the IR. You have Tyreek Thunderberg. You have Keenan Isaac, who you brought back. Look, Izan McCollum was also a limited participant in Wednesday's practice with a concussion. I think he was limited yet again in Thursday's practice with that concussion protocol as well. So he is ramping up to possibly play in this upcoming game. But if Zion McCollum can't go, with Josh Hayes out, with Bryce Hall out, you do have Tyreek Thunderberg, who would start at cornerback this upcoming game, outside cornerback number 2, opposite of Jamel Dean, and then your backup outside cornerback would be Keenan Isaac in that scenario. So we'll see how it gets going. Maybe Zion McCollum can be available for this upcoming game. I talked about reinforcements coming back. That's in the form of Logan Hall. Logan Hall was a limited participant in Wednesday's practice. I think he was full go on Thursday, according to Greg Auman, and it seems like he's going to be playing in this game, again, according to Greg Auman. Look, I understand that Logan Hall might not have all the supporters in the world right now. It seems like he's been a little bit ineffective. Last year, hasn't made his debut yet this year, but it'll be nice to just get another guy out there, right? Logan Hall has started a good amount of games for the Bucs the past year or so, and the past couple of years, I should say, and it'll just be nice to get another guy out there that can start, right? So I'm welcoming Logan Hall back with open arms. I think everybody should as well, considering all the injuries the Buccaneers have been dealing with. Kalijah Kancey is still dealing with a calf injury, did not participate in Wednesday's practice. I didn't see anything about him participating in Thursday's practice, so again, just a really, really unfortunate scenario here for the Bucs, dealing with yet another bright young player with some of those injuries that he has. Now, I do want to mention some of the guys on the Lions side of things, because there are a couple of interesting names here. Marcus Davenport didn't participate in Wednesday's practice. I don't know what his status was on Thursday. Similar thing for Penei Sewell, offensive tackle, didn't participate in Wednesday's practice. Don't know his status on Thursday. Those are two big names. Those are two very big names. And I'm going to be curious to see what happens with those two guys. If they're limited in some way, shape, or form, that's good news for the Bucs. That's something that they can take advantage of. Those guys maybe being limited in some capacity, or maybe in the biggest scenario, not being available. So we'll see what happens with those. Obviously, we will be paying attention to that closer to game time, but the Bucs are also dealing with a ton of injuries in their own way. Again, Antoine Winfield Jr., that's such a huge injury, cannot be stated enough. Adding Luke Gedeke to that mix, and Kalijah Kancey to that mix yet again, it's not a fun injury report for the Bucs here, as they're dealing with a lot of injuries early on in this season. But what do you guys think about this injury report? Let me know your thoughts and opinions about it down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. As always, guys, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.